All right, let's get started. Good evening. Thank you for coming tonight. I wanted to provide a brief introduction to the project and the team. The Junipero Serra Trail will provide a vital off-street east-west connection across Cupertino for bicyclists and pedestrians. The community, including families and commuters, and several groups like Walk by Cupertino have demonstrated a strong interest and support for the project. We are early in the design process, and your input at this time facilitates a design that works best for the community. Staff is working with the grant administrator, VTA, on the possibility of renaming the trail. If approved, the name will reflect Cupertino's character, and we will involve the community in the renaming process. There's another possibility of renaming the trail once construction is complete and VTA is no longer involved. I am Evelyn. I am one of the project managers on the city side for the project. We have Joanne Johnson, another project manager on the city side. We have Dave from Calendar and Associates and Kwong from BKF. The meeting will begin with a 30-minute presentation. Following the presentation, we will have time for Q&A. And when the time comes, please raise your hand and you will be added to the queue. Once it's your turn, you will be unmute and you will have 3 minutes to speak. You may write your comments in the chat and staff will read them out loud during the Q&A. If you are joining us via the phone, to raise your hand, press 9 and unmute yourself. Press *6 for if you will be joining us via phone, raise your hand. To raise your hand, press *9, and to unmute yourself, press *6. Please be mindful of the audience and remain respectful. So this is our agenda. Next slide, please. This is our agenda for the night. Project background, process, existing conditions, trail concept, safety, privacy, and security, group discussion, next steps. The Junipero Serra Trail project is consistent with a number of local plans, including the 2016 Bicycle Transportation Plan and the 2018 Pedestrian Transportation Plan. Both plans outline goals to enhance mobility, improve bicycle and pedestrian connectivity within the city. With both plans, the Junipero Serra Trail is identified as a Tier 1 high priority project. The 2016 Bicycle Transportation Plan recommended the implementation of the loop trail around Cupertino. The Junipero Serra Trail would create a Class 1 facility that runs along the Junipero Serra Trail, Junipero Serra Channel, Regnard Creek, and Interstate 280. The trail is one leg of the larger loop, which will provide an off-street network of bicycle and pedestrian paths which circumnavigate the city and link key destinations. In 2017, the city's capital budget authorized the funding of the Junipero Serra Trail feasibility study. The city hired Calendar to complete this work. The study included a review of existing conditions along the trail alignment, research and documentation of the trail design criteria, the development and evaluation of various trail alternatives, and public outreach. In February of 2019, the feasibility study was reviewed and endorsed by City Council, and in May 2019, Council adopted the final feasibility study. During feasibility, the trail was divided into 3 segments. Segment 1 is defined as the segment between the Don Burnett Bridge and Anza Blvd. Segment 2, which is now the central segment, is a segment between Anza Blvd and Wolf Road. And segment 3, which is now the east segment, is a segment between Wolf Road and Vallco Parkway. Alternative 1 of the feasibility study. The trail alignment cost matrix in the feasibility study allowed decision makers to see various estimates for each alternative. The city selected alternative 1 because it was financially rational, and in December of 2018, the Bicycle Pedestrian Committee endorsed this alternative. The city decided to initiate the project with the east and central segments first because they posed the fewest engineering challenges and felt that the east and central segments would generate higher usage from commuters and residents. The east and central segments of the JST Trail are eligible for Measure B funding administered by VTA. Information gathering and concept phase. Getting to this point in the project started in July 2020 when the design team was selected from a pool of qualified candidates via an RFQ. Then the survey and site inventory for the East and Central were collected between December 2020 and February 2021. And during the months from March to May of this year, the concept design for the East and Central was developed. We have 3 community meetings to provide input. Tonight, we will focus on residents in proximity to the East segment. At the May 20th meeting, we will focus on residents in proximity to the Central segment. At the May 27th, focus on citywide input. From the summer of 2021 to 2022, the design team will analyze the community input gathered and refine the design. In fall of 2021, we will have a community meeting. The council must authorize the construction award so that the earliest date construction can start for the East segment is fall 2022. In early 2023, the East Trail opens and the Central segment development begins. Now the design team will walk through the existing conditions and concept plans.
Good evening, my name is Dave Rubin. I'm with Calendar Associates, and I wanted to walk you a little bit through the existing conditions before we get into the trail concepts themselves. So for starters, I wanted to just orient you to some of the typical conditions that you see in the Central segment. This first image shows a typical condition within the Central segment. You can see the channel is lined with concrete throughout this segment, and the distance between the top of the channel edge and the fence varies throughout this segment. Here are some images of the various conditions that are encountered within the Central segment. For example, the upper left image shows the bend in North Blaney Avenue where it would meet the proposed trail. The other images show the existing maintenance road next to the concrete line channel. Within the East segment, the conditions are similar, but they are a little bit different. They are generally a little bit wider, so the maintenance road in many places is 14 feet or even more, which we didn't have in the Central segment. And here are a couple of photos just to show what that looks like. This segment does not have a concrete lined channel, as you can see in a lot of these photos. And in the lower left corner, you can see where the channel meets with the Calabasas Creek. So just to summarize what I'm going to be going over, I'm going to be walking you through the trail alignment, the proposed trailhead locations, which are at De Anza Boulevard, Lucille Avenue within the Central segment, the Vallco trailhead, what we're calling the Promontory trailhead, and Vallco Parkway trailhead, which are all within the East segment, as well as showing you trail sections and what the overall look and feel of the trail would be. So before jumping into that, just wanted to give you a sense of how this trail might look. And so the trail would, in addition to having a two-way Class 1 type trail for multi-use, there would also be trailheads where people can rest and gather as a group and learn about interesting aspects of the area through interpretive signage. The materials used in these spaces would include pavers, decorative concrete bands, railing, guardrail, concrete seat walls, and even at-grade decking at one of the trailheads. So starting with the Central segment, the limits of this segment start at De Anza Boulevard on the west and going east all the way to Wolf Road at the east. As Evelyn mentioned in the beginning, we're focusing on the central and the east for now, but the idea is that should the west segment be built, the connection would occur here at De Anza Boulevard. So starting with the trailhead at De Anza Boulevard, there would be a small trailhead with a concrete seat wall and pavers. Each trailhead that we're going to be showing you this evening would also have a concrete band, really indicating where you are in the world. And so there would be an inset metal lettering that would have latitude and longitude as well as elevation at that location. So here's a typical cross section within this portion of the central segment. And so this is pretty consistent actually through this segment. The paved surface is 8 feet wide, and it would have 2-foot wide shoulders on both sides of the trail where space permits. And there would also be a guardrail wherever the trail is adjacent to the open channel. And then this next section, this is more specific to where the trail passes along Lucille Avenue. So it still has a guardrail. It is also an 8-foot wide paved trail with 2-foot shoulders. But along the street, we would also have a planting strip that would serve as a buffer from the trail edge to the street. So at this point, I was going to turn this over to Kwong just for a moment to talk about North Blaney Avenue.
Thanks, Dave. I'm Kwong at BKF Engineers, civil engineers on this project. At this location, we're transitioning kind of through this complex area while trying to match up with the trail as it moves further east. In this location at Blaney at the turn here, we looked at various ways to potentially not impact Blaney Avenue itself, but we thought actually maybe the best way to look at it, and currently what's shown here is to just bring the trail out to the street, see if we have the space remaining to make vehicle maneuvers work, and that's what we've been studying and working with the city on. And what you see here, best fit right now is to remove the shoulders, keep the 8-foot width of trail, but avoid all the issues in this area that you can kind of see. There's power lines and guy wires and some fencing that we're trying to avoid. And so we bring the trail out, still provide curb and guardrail, but still fit in that 8-foot wide trail.
All right, so now I was going to just walk you through the trailhead that is proposed at this location. So this is at Lucille Avenue and Villa de Anza Avenue. So we're just west of the Blaney Avenue overcrossing. So this trailhead provides seating, pavers, landscape improvements, and an interpretive sign, as well as a new crosswalk just to help promote safer access from the neighborhoods to the south. And then here's a cross section through that same trailhead. So you'll notice that the channel is actually directly above the water district's culvert that goes below ground at this point, and then it daylights a little further east of here. And then this is just a visual simulation showing how this trailhead might look and how it relates to the trail itself, the crosswalk, Lucille Avenue. And then in the background, you see that's the sound wall with Interstate 280 just beyond that. And so now moving a little further east, this is a cross section right along the southbound I-280 off-ramp to Wolf Road. And so there's a 15-foot wide easement, and this is where the trail would be occurring along that edge as it follows the off-ramp. And then at this location, the trail actually takes a hard turn, and it heads towards Perimeter Road, and that would allow trail users to ultimately continue east underneath Wolf Road and also connect to the future development that's occurring at Vallco. It's worth noting as well that there would also be a spur trail connection to Wolf Road at the Wolf Road elevation. So there would be a trailhead at this location, And again, so we would be providing seating, landscape improvements, and ultimately this is to provide just a continuation of the trail as it makes this turn and heads underneath Wolf Road. Okay, so that's central segment. So now just talking about the east segment. So this goes from Wolf Road at the west and continues eastward all the way to Calabasas Creek, where the trail would then turn to the south and terminate at Vallco Parkway. So actually, I'm going to turn it back to Kwong just for a discussion here about the conform to the Hyatt House.
Yeah, so you see in this slide, Hyatt House there at this location of the trail near Wolf Road. Per the work that was done for the hotel, they installed a pathway with the trail project, this current trail project in mind. On the left here, there's an 8-foot wide path that we are going to pick up from. And so you don't see it here, but maybe on the previous slide, but the Hyatt trail that was installed does connect to perimeter and goes underneath Wolf. And so the connectivity is still there. And we're just picking up on the north end of where Hyatt's trail left off.
Okay, so now here's a cross section behind the Apple campus. So here you can see that unlined channel. We do still have a guardrail here just because of the proximity to a pretty steep slope. The trail width here would again be 8-foot paved trail with 2-foot shoulders. In some places, we may also need a retaining curb or retaining wall just to provide us enough of a flat space to construct this trail in certain areas. And as we head towards the east and we come to that bend that I mentioned earlier, provides a great trailhead opportunity, and something we're calling the promontory. You know, it really is an overlook at where the channel and Calabasas Creek have their confluence. And so at this trailhead, you know, we're proposing decking along the creek side of this trailhead as an overlook to Calabasas Creek. There's also seating provided beneath these existing trees, some of which are pretty mature redwoods. So there'll be shaded seating for that, as well as interpretive signage, which would speak to the flora and fauna of Calabasas Creek. And then here's just an image of what that space might look like. And again, just how it relates to the bend in the trail there. Just a good place for people to pull off the trail. And like I said, learn a little bit about, you know, the area that they live in and that they're passing through. So now this cross section is cut through the trail as we're adjacent to Calabasas Creek. So here we've got some more space. So instead of an 8-foot paved trail, the trail width here is actually 10 feet paved with two 2-foot shoulders. So it's 14 feet in total. And then the need for a guardrail would actually go away at this location. So it would be open and unimpeded views to Calabasas Creek. And so then the area highlighted in the yellow box, this is where we've got our trail terminus at the east end of the east segment. So that's at Vallco Parkway. And so at this location, the trailhead is really directing users to the signalized intersection with Main Street. This is right in front of the Apple campus here. And so seating and landscape improvements are also provided. And it also integrates directly with the sidewalk that's along Vallco Parkway. Just want to switch gears a little bit and transition from the trail concept to talk a little bit about safety and privacy concerns for both trail users and adjacent residents. Here's a photo of an existing fence behind a residence. And while there is a fence in place, there's not much in the way of privacy for the resident in this case. And so the city understands that there are different conditions throughout the project and will evaluate fence conditions on a case-by-case basis along the trail alignment. And then again, you know, depending on need, the city would also potentially evaluate a trail patrol program. Milestone markers, these can also be a good tool for emergency response. A trail user can call 911 and give this dispatcher a milestone marker location that gives the first responder a more precise location and a quick way to find someone in distress. And then lighting. So generally lighting is not a major component of the project. The trail is going to be open from dawn to dusk, just as a matter of policy. But to assist trail commuters in the winter months, some low-level lighting may be proposed at trailheads. And so with that, I think we'll open it up for group discussion. We've allotted up to 60 minutes or even a little more for any comments or questions if needed. So you can submit your comments in one of two ways. You can submit questions through the Q&A function, or you can use the raise hand function, and we'd love to hear from you and actually answer your questions verbally. So I think at that point, I'll open it up. Maybe I can prompt any questions that folks may have. What concerns do you have about the trail project? What do you really like about the trail project? How would you use it? Would it be for recreational use? Would it be for commuting, for getting to and from retail, shopping? Just love to hear your thoughts.
If you don't mind, I'll speak for a moment, David. Thank you to you, Evelyn, and Colin for the presentation. I'm Roger Lee. I'm the Director of Public Works. And for those of you who are in attendance, we're very much in the conceptual stage. So even though you're seeing what appear to be some pretty polished conceptuals, it's really your input that drives how the ultimate design may be. So we do take that all into account. We'll be keeping track of the questions that are asked, and probably posting answers to frequently asked questions up on our webpage. So this is really an opportunity to provide that input, and there'll be other opportunities in the future as well. To date, this project has had the feasibility study completed, as Evelyn mentioned, and we have some dollars assigned to do the work that's being presented now. But the project has not yet been authorized for construction, and so there's many more steps in which the public is going to have an opportunity to talk about the project. But the earlier that we can get your comments, the better we can make this for for all of us and the community and the users of the trail. So with that, I'll step aside. But thank you for the presentation. I appreciate it. Well, if there are no questions or comments, maybe just go over what you've got set up on our webpage and how people can submit questions through that, and email addresses. I know you've got an email account set up just for the project.
Yeah. So as you see on the screen, if you're not comfortable speaking or providing input here, or you think of something later after this call, you're more than welcome to email jstproject@cupertino.org, or you can attend next week's meeting or even the meeting after. So that's Thursday, May 20th or Thursday, May 27th. So there are a couple of more opportunities in the next couple of weeks. I don't know, Evelyn, if you wanted to, I think we've covered that with our next meetings, and the next one, it says that it's really a focus for residents in proximity to the central segment. But again, if you're inclined, you can attend.
Yeah, we just want to stress that the community input is important to the project team, and we have made it a priority that residents provide input and are involved in the design process. So we have 2 remaining dates, and you can pick which one you'd like to attend. So for next steps, from the summer of 2021 to 2022, the design team will analyze the community input gathered and refine the design. In fall of 2021, we will have a community meeting. Council must authorize the construction award, so that's the earliest date that construction could start is in fall of 2022 for the east segment. And in early 2023, the East Trail opens and the central segment development begins. I just want to thank everyone for attending this meeting. Although we don't have any feedback, we appreciate anything. So if you want to share your thoughts, you can email the project email. You can stay updated via our project website. We also have an option to join the JST project e-notification list. Members will receive periodic updates regarding the project status. And see you guys next week.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.